I'm Kenneth, and this is my lovely wife Sharon. You've had the professionals, and now you've got the amateurs. I'm sorry about that. So just to give you a little bit about our background, we are going to tell you a little bit about our family's story through this, and you may be able to relate to that. It may be helpful. My background is engineering, but my wife's is nursing. She's not. She's retired from nursing now. We used to be a family of 5, but since February last year, we're now a family of 4. We've 2 grown boys, and we lost our daughter Ruth, aged 23, on the 8th of February 2022. She died suddenly in her apartment, following what at the time she thought was just the flu. And this is our story.
March 2020. The lockdowns first came in response to this, what we were told was a novel coronavirus. And I knew something was wrong, something was badly off. By the early summer, I was tapping into Dr. Mike Yeadon, and he has a history of previously working for Pfizer, and he's a known expert in his field, and I know Jonathan has made reference to a number of experts, immunologists and high-up CEOs in pharmaceuticals that were raising the alarm but were being censored, were being shut down. So I knew straight away when I was listening to him and he was speaking sense. There was also the White Coat Summit, which went viral very, very quickly on YouTube, and that came from America. A group of doctors, about 20 or so doctors, started to speak out, and again it was censored within, I don't know, was it hours or days, I can't quite remember. But they were speaking a whole lot of sense, and you knew straight away something's up when these sensible voices are being censored. And they were also risking a significant thing to be speaking out in public as well. So later that summer, mainstream media across the board ran a wall-to-wall story that COVID immunity was temporary, that antibodies waned, and that folk could get COVID more than twice. I knew straight away we're being lied to here, because that is not how our immune system works. And at exactly the same time, the talk of vaccines really, really ramped up, and everybody was feeling the pressure because we were being told over and over and over again, nothing goes back to normal until everybody is vaccinated. So the following summer, in 2021, it's about 6 months or so, I think, after the vaccines first arrived in the UK, our eldest son was planning a trip with some friends to the Republic of Ireland. Now, most venues at that time actually required a vax pass, including restaurants, and our son was unvaccinated, and he was under intense pressure from his friends to get vaccinated for this trip. I phoned the GP on our son's behalf to ask for confirmation of COVID immunity through a blood test which could confirm what we call T-cell immunity. Now that is how your immune system works, because the T-cell immunity shows that your immune system has, as it were, taken a photograph of the bug that has invaded your body. And even though the antibodies wane and disappear, your immune system still has that photograph. And then the next time that bug comes, your immune system springs into action, and before you even have symptoms, it's gone. That is how our immune system works. So I did ask the GP for this test because we had all had the COVID symptoms back in March. And I had also advised my GP that I had read around the subject, and I had read from a couple of different sources that there was a greater risk of adverse events if someone has taken the vaccine after they've already had COVID. The reply that I got was pretty astounding, and I'll just quote it for you. She said to me on the phone, "You're probably more well read on the subject than I am." And our request for that blood test was denied. Now, unknown to us, at the same time, our daughter was planning a trip to England to attend a music festival. And we all know, we've seen the pictures. I don't know if anybody here has seen the documentary Died Suddenly. And there's footage at the very, very end of that. And it's a music festival. And they are screaming from the stage, "Let's hear it for Pfizer, let's hear it for Moderna and AstraZeneca." We've seen those pictures. So she couldn't go to this music festival unless she was vaccinated. And so on the 7th of July, unbeknownst to us, she went to a pop-up clinic in Ballymena and she received a Pfizer injection. Now, months later, Ruth admitted to us what she had done. Obviously, as a family, over the months we've been discussing this, and we as parents were begging our children not to give in to the pressure and not to take this experimental injection. But she admitted what she had done, but promised that she wasn't going to take any more. And she didn't take any more. By Christmas 2021, it was noticeable that our Ruth had lost a bit of weight. And the only other symptom she'd shared with me is that she'd had a dizzy spell one day. And we had the usual mother and daughter conversation about weight loss and eating right and fluids and that sort of thing. Into January 2022, and the track and trace app had been in full swing for some time, and folk were taking multiple COVID tests, lateral flows, PCRs, and they were quarantining left, right and centre. So Ruth's flatmate tested positive, and they were isolated in Ruth's apartment for upwards of 2 weeks. It was immediately after this period of time Ruth took ill with what she thought was the flu. By the time Ruth's flatmate raised the alarm, it was too late. And despite the best efforts of the emergency services at this scene, they worked on her for over an hour, but she was gone. I asked at this scene that it be recorded on Ruth's notes that she had taken a Pfizer injection months earlier. And I am very thankful to the police officer who made sure that that information was captured and it was recorded in the information, the history information at the beginning of Ruth's autopsy report. And we're so thankful to him for doing that. The initial autopsy couldn't find a cause for Ruth's death. She was fit, she was healthy, she was 23 years old. We waited 8 months for the full report to come through. And if I could just say something in regard to that, cast your mind back to the media and the ticker along the bottom of the screen, COVID deaths, COVID deaths. How were they able to do that if it takes 8 months to get a result back from the coroner's office of a death? How were they able to do that? We have to ask ourselves these questions. We have to rethink everything that we once thought about the National Health Service and about our own government and how they look at all this and how they manage these risks. October 22, the coroner's report came, and we were told that the cause of Ruth's death was Addison's disease. Now, Addison's disease can be secondary to other conditions, but in Ruth's case, it was an autoimmune condition. She was positive. She had positive Addison's antibodies in her bloodstream. Again, a direct quote from the coroner's report: Ruth's adrenal glands were destroyed. So I began to read around Addison's disease, and I quickly found out that without the presence of another influencing factor, Ruth's history was not a good fit. Addison's disease is typically slow and chronic in its progression, and it can take anything from 1 to 4 or even 5 years before someone can get a diagnosis. Ruth went from onset of symptoms to death in somewhere between 3 and 6 months. She falls outside the typical age bracket for Addison's disease, and Ruth was previously fit and healthy. We asked for a full copy of the coroner's report, and we're glad to say that we were able to get that. And although it was a very thorough report, yet there was no reference to or acknowledgement of the fact that Ruth had received a Pfizer vaccine 7 months before. We also never were given an opportunity to speak directly with the coroner at any time. Immediately after receipt of this report, we did raise a question through the administrator via an email about a blood test which had been taken 1 week before Ruth's death. And we got a written reply which confirmed the blood test and confirmed the results. And in that same written reply, we were told that the case was now closed, and if we had any further questions, we would go back to our GP. So we made an appointment with our GP. And in November, we met with her just to express our concerns and to state our position that we believed that the Pfizer injection was at the very, very least implicated in Ruth's death. 3 things came out of that visit. Firstly, our doctor expressed concern and surprise that we had never had a direct conversation with the coroner herself. Secondly, she did advise us to fill in a yellow card report on behalf of Ruth, which both our doctor and myself did in January of 23. And thirdly, she suggested that we email the coroner's office and raise our concerns in writing. I want to say that we are very, very grateful and thankful for the support that our GP gave us at that time, because we were not expecting that at all. We were expecting some pushback, and she was very, very good with us and very kind. So on the 4th of January, we did what she advised. We emailed the coroner's office to ask, and it was really a simple question: why they had a sample of the adrenal tissue, why had they not tested it for the presence of spike protein when they saw that Ruth had received the vaccine 7 months before? To this date, we have no reply from the coroner's office. The truth is, while we don't have absolute proof that the Pfizer injection was the cause of Ruth's death, yet it's clear that all the evidence points in that direction. And quite frankly, the silence of the coroner on the matter speaks volumes. We know that we're not alone. There are more folk who, like ourselves, have suffered injury or bereavement following these injections. You might not have absolute proof, but you know enough to recognise the link and follow the evidence yourselves. You do not need affirmation from your GP, even your family or your friends, because that doesn't change the truth. The truth is absolute, and the truth will come out.
I joined this group, firstly to be a support to my wife. I'm doing a great job today. Sharon is a carer, worked in that industry, and we want to be there to help others. We're simple people, but we know and love the God of the Bible, and that God is a God of truth. We don't have all the answers, and we probably won't get all the answers, but God knows the truth, and that's okay. It doesn't mean we sit around and do nothing. We as a family, we were very privileged that both our families rallied around and have helped us through this. Our church has helped us. Um, and I guess we want to speak here today. We want to speak the truth. We've tried not to embellish the story, or this is just how it happened, and these are the facts as we have discovered them, and we're just sharing that with everyone here today. Again, as everyone's been said, a recognition that this has went on, a recognition that there are those out there that are hurting, and if we can be of any help or support, we open our home, and we would love to spend time to get to know each one of you here today. So that's why Sharon and I are part of VIBS NI. We're the newbies of the team, and it has been a pleasure to get to know each member of the team.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people that have been shunned and scared into silence, and this is wrong. So that is why we've chosen to come forward and to speak the truth and stand here today. This is not normal for us to stand in front of a mic, as you can tell, but we're glad to be able to do that, and I hope in some way that would be helpful. And thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you.